Welcome to a short tutorial on data type conversions in JavaScript. We are going to take a quick look at how to convert things to strings, to numbers, and to evaluate things as Booleans. This is all really fundamental stuff, very simple. So we'll just do a few quick examples. I do have this file over here to the left, README, that introduces the topic and talks about each one of these, the string function, the number function, and the Boolean function, and talks a little bit about, what types of things are going to be converted to, ones and zeros, for example, when you're doing Booleans, or down here, there's different things that will be falsy or truthy, depending on their values. And so there's some things you can kind of expect what the behavior is going to be. There's rules to this. So we'll just talk about these, though, a little bit as we do it. You can certainly come back and read this README in its entirety if you would like. Okay, so the very first thing is converting to strings. So we're going to do a quick example that just converts the number 3 to a string and then prints a statement that shows what the converted value is and verifies what its type is after we've converted it. So I'm going to just create a variable called string3, and I'm going to use the string function to convert 3. And then in order to see some sort of result in the console, I will do a console.log, and I will say the number 3 becomes, and then concatenate with string3. And then I'll add in a little hyphen here and concatenate this expression type of string3. So you might remember type of is a keyword that just tells you what the type is. And so together, these two things make up an expression that returns that type of this new variable that we've created after we've converted it. So that's what we're going to be looking for. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, it says the number 3 becomes 3 and it's a string. So we have verified that that number has now been converted into a string type. And of course, when you're reading it as plain text, it's impossible to tell the difference here. And that's why I use the type of keyword to verify the type here. Okay, so let's do this again. Go ahead and try this on your own. You can pause the video if you would like, but you're going to convert the decimal value 0.01 to a string, and then print a statement that has the converted value and the verification of its type. Okay, so let me go over this with you. It's let string 100th, and you may have called this something different. That's totally okay. And I'm just going to use the string method to convert this, just like this. And then I'll do something very similar. In fact, I'm just going to copy this and change the variable names here. And I'll just say 0.01000. Okay, let's run it. The number 0.01 becomes 0.01 as a string. So that's kind of an interesting thing there, because I, put in all of these trailing zeros here, which don't matter. But JavaScript actually simplified the number before converting it to a string and got rid of all of those trailing zeros. So that's, it's an interesting thing to understand about how things work, that JavaScript actually simplified it before it converted it. But you can see that output there and the confirmation that that is now a string. All right, one more. This time you're going to convert the Boolean value false to a string and then print a similar statement that shows what type it is now. Go ahead. Okay, so let's create a variable. I'm going to call this string false, and just say that it is string and pass in false. And then we will do something similar here where we say the Boolean value false becomes string false, and that is a type of string false. We'll run it. Okay. So yeah, so we can see that it becomes false, but it's just now the string false. It's not a Boolean value anymore. Okay, good. So that's it for strings. Now let's talk about number conversions. We can do this very similarly, but there are some different rules. And the first rule is if it's a valid number that can be converted to a number, it will convert it to a number. So we'll just do a couple of those and then we'll talk about some of the other cases. So let's do an example for you. First, let's convert this number 91. Let number 91 equal, I'll use the number function and I'll pass in the string 91. So it's not a number yet, but it's about to be. And I'll say the number, or no, the string 91 becomes, and then number 91, and I hit the wrong key. There we go. And we'll say type of number 91. I have an extra parentheses. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, let's run this. Okay, the string 91 becomes 91 and it is now a number. Okay, so that's very straightforward. Why don't you go ahead and try it yourself with the string 0.70. Okay, so I'm going to create this let number 7/10 equal number, and I will convert 0.70 as a string. And we will see what happens. Let me copy this. And 0.70 becomes 7/10. Okay. String 0.70 becomes 0.7. And again, just as before, JavaScript actually, in the process of converting it, simplified it to get rid of that trailing 0. And now we see it's just 0.7, and it is a number. Okay, one more. This time you're going to convert false to a number and then print a statement that verifies the type. And then, do this, see what happens, and then we'll talk about kind of why you got the result that you did. Okay, so I'm going to create a variable number false and convert it from the Boolean value false. And then just say console.log, and then I'll do something similar here. The Boolean false becomes, and then I'll say number false. And then put a little hyphen in there and concatenate type of number false. Yeah, so the Boolean false becomes 0, and that is because anything that is considered falsy, truthy and falsy are terms you might hear used. Falsy will always be converted to 0 if it's converted to a number. And so the opposite, of course, would be true, would become 1. So false will always resolve to 0. True will always resolve to 1. It's, binary, 0s and 1s, right? All right. So speaking of Booleans, let's talk a little bit more about how JavaScript treats different values when you're trying to evaluate something as a Boolean, even if it's not a Boolean already. It's a string or a number. And we're going to do a number of these and kind of investigate why the results are what they are. Okay, so you can pause the video and try to work your way through these, and then pick it back up, and then I will in a second here go ahead and start coding so that you can follow along. So the string A, and I'm just going to do this all in one statement. You may have done this with variables, and that's totally okay. And I'm just going to say evaluates to, and then I'm going to go ahead and convert it right now from a string, the string A, to the Boolean, and we'll see whether it says true or false. So the string A evaluates to true. So that is because any string that has any length of any kind, as long as it's not a length of 0, an empty string, it's going to evaluate to true. It means there is actually something of substance to this string. That is true. Okay, now what if we have the string false? Now, not the Boolean value false, but the string false in quotes. Let's try doing that. Do you think it's going to evaluate to false, or is it going to evaluate to true? Let's find out. The string false evaluates to, and then we'll take Boolean and give it the string false and see what happens. Yeah, now that evaluates to true because there again, the same rule applies. This is just a string. And JavaScript doesn't know that that word false actually has any meaning as a Boolean. It just sees that it's a word. It's some sort of string. It has a length greater than 0, so it evaluates it as true. All right, now here we go with an empty string, and this is what, where we might see a difference. The string empty string evaluates to Boolean, and then I'll give it that empty string. We'll run it. And it says that it evaluates to false. Okay, so that's true. The only string that will ever evaluate to false is just going to be an empty string that has no length at all, because there's nothing to it except for the fact that it is a string. So that can be useful as you get, more into learning how to program in different situations. There's going to be times when that might be useful to you. So it's good to know that. All right, let's do the number 5. Console.log. The number 5 evaluates to, and we'll convert this to Boolean and see what comes up. And that evaluates to true. So let's do this next one. The number 0 evaluates to Boolean 0. And this will be, of course, false. Yeah, we've seen this before. So any number that is not 0 is always going to evaluate to true if it's forced to be a Boolean. And if it's a 0, it'll be false because 0 is faulty. And pretty much any other number is truthy. And then there's this other number value called NaN, the special value. This one is also going to evaluate. Let's see, I'm just going to say NaN, not a number, evaluates to Boolean, NaN. And we can see that evaluates to false. Not a number is also falsy. And there are some other special values too, like null or undefined. Those will also be falsy and evaluate to false. Okay, so let's talk about a use case where, a practical situation where type conversion can actually be helpful. One of these situations that you might encounter pretty soon is taking user input that is a number. But here's the thing, input.question will always return a string. So you can ask for a number and have the user give you a number, but let's check the type of the response that we get without converting anything, just to see what comes back. All right, I'm just going to call this let num1. This is the first number we're asking for. We're going to ask for another one in a second. And I'll say, give me a number. And then I will print num1 is of type, and I'm going to be consistent here and use double quotes. And then say type of num1. Okay, and we'll see what this gets us here. Okay, so give me a number and I can say 5. Num1 is of type string. Okay, so we have proven that when we get user input, even if it's a number, it comes back as a string. And there are times when we might want to use it as a number. Once we get it, from the user, we'll say, well, we asked them for a number because we need a number. So what do we do about that? So first, we're going to prove that JavaScript can actually technically do it on its own, as long as you are making it obvious that it needs to be treated as a number. But then after that, we're going to actually explicitly change it because that is the better practice. So first, we'll create a variable and call this multiplied num, and I'll say input. And I'm not input that question. I'm just going to calculate the number we already got. There we go. And I'm just going to multiply this by 3. And then I'm going to console log something similar and say, console log multiplied num is of type, and then we'll check the type of multiplied num. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so I'm going to get a number. This time I'll just do 6. So it says num1 is of type string, multiplied num is of type number. Now we did not actually do any sort of conversion here, but what happened is JavaScript saw this math operator, this arithmetic operator, and said, oh, you want to try to use that as a number. So it tried to convert it to a number. And because it could be converted, it did it, it multiplied it. And then, now it's a number. Multiplied num is a number. Num1 is still a string. But this is not the best practice. The best practice would actually be to explicitly convert it to a number if you know that's how you're going to be needing to use it, and just do it right at the point at which you take the input so that it's a number as soon as you've got it from the user. So let's do that, and we're going to just ask for a new number. So we're going to create another variable num2, and I'm going to start by just doing the input question, and I'll show you how we're going to do this all at once. So maybe I say, give me another number. Okay. And then I can say, console.log and say, num2 is of type of num2. Okay, so if we do this, we know that we're going to get a string. We've already proven this. So the first one's 3. Let me give another number, 8. Yeah, so it is definitely a string because, again, just like we did above, we didn't do anything to change it. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to take this entire expression that asks for a number and receives it back, and we're going to enclose that in the number function so that it converts whatever comes back, that value, once this is evaluated and the user has given their value, converts it to a number before it stores it in the variable. So now if we run this again, and I'll do numbers again. Now it says num2 is of type number because we went ahead and converted it right there. So this is the best practice. I would encourage you to just be thinking about that. Anytime you receive input from a user, think about the fact, am I going to be using this as a number? Am I going to be calculating with this? And if so, I would go ahead and convert it to a number right when you receive it. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Getting comfortable with converting, understanding what converts to true or what converts to false, what converts to 0, what converts to 1. All of these things can be really helpful as you move along in your coding journey.